Facebook. So as you make your way into a comfortable seat, please make sure you have a blanket or something that you can use under your heels at various moments in the practice this morning. And then as you take your seat, with your hands, rotate your thighs in. Pull the flesh of the buttocks just slightly out away from the sitting bones. Take the fingertips down on the ground beside you, and as you lightly push down with the fingertips, lengthen the size of the torso. Good morning, Sherry. And as you lengthen the size of the torso, feel that you're picking the entire rib cage slightly up away from the pelvis and lengthening the soft tissue in the lower back and around the navel. Move the top of the upper arm bones back and take the head slightly back. Lift the center of the chest up, and then place your hands lightly up or down on your legs, keeping that length in the torso that you've established. I'm going to read a portion from a book called Yoga of the Subtle Body, a guide to the physical and energetic anatomy of yoga. And I've been over the last year really contemplating the energetics of the yoga practice and the recognition that when we want to create health and ease and well-being in the body on a physical level, perhaps even more significant is the capacity to create health and well-being and ease on the energetic level. And really what that means in many ways is that we create an internal environment that allows the breath to move fluidly and easily so that the life force in the breath can reach every cell of the body. Every cell needs to have that bath of oxygen with the breath in, and then the forces that also pull the carbon dioxide back up to the lungs and allow it then to the body on the exhale is really significant. So the author is T.S. Little, and he says, the importance of letting go. The idea behind letting go is part of the very foundation of the 8 limbs of yoga. Non-hoarding is part of the first limb of the yoga, which delineates right action and proper conduct in the social sphere. In Sanskrit, this is referred to as aparigraha, which literally means non-grasping. This attribute is meant to be an antidote to greed and possessiveness. In this country, people are known to amass abundant material belongings, and most basements and attics are caches of accumulated stuff. Material possessiveness may be coupled with a psychological holding, a physiological holding, and a psychological clinging. For people not only collect and hoard physical belongings, but withhold sentiments and innermost feelings. In the body, held back or stuffed emotion can manifest as clogging or surplus, especially in the lower intestinal tract. So today, as we practice, we want to use the practice, or the invitation, is that we use the practice to release the physiological holding and the psychological clinging. And that's to the concept of the pose, the concept of how we need to be in the pose, the way that we avoid feeling the sensations of the body, and the movement of the breath. So with that in mind, Close your eyes. With the eyes closed, feel into the space in the center of the base of the pelvis, so midway between the pubic bone and the tailbone. And as you feel into that space, as well, feel into a point in the center of the top of the head, the very crown of the head. And then from that point, go up about a foot so that you're hovering your attention about a foot above the crown of the head. And imagine a line or column that connects the point in the center of the base of the pelvis and the point about a foot above the crown of the head. That central column is the main energetic pathway in the body called the Sushumna Nadi. And keeping that length from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head in the very center core of the torso. Let go around it. So let go of the belly, even though there is some tone in the belly because of the extension through the torso along the innermost line of the torso. Let go of the muscles at the tops of the shoulders. Soften the throat. And now, as you release the jaw, also release the tops of the thigh bones down toward the ground. So as the tops of the thigh bones settle, release the hinge of the jaw. With the eyes closed, although you can open them if you need to see the screen for a moment, take the first two fingers of each hand to the jaw hinge. So that's the index and the middle finger of each hand, and pressing the fingertips against the jaw, lightly tap there. Two, and you can make little circles just to release any tension in the jaw. And that's a major place of holding. And then release the hands back down to the legs. The eyes soft. Practice feeling into the capacity to maintain the extension on the innermost line of the torso and let go around that. So letting go is not this completely passive experience. There's a certain amount of activity or alertness in the inner body, even as the outer body, especially these places on the belly, the tops of the shoulders, the tops of the thighs, and the hinge of the jaw are soft. And now for the next few moments, tune into the breath. And as you tune into the breath, pay attention to the exhale. And perhaps deliberately articulate to yourself that this practice this morning is to release any clinging, holding in the body, in the mind, in the breath. So that the practice will be an experience of letting go, And then with your next exhalation, join your hands together at your heart. Touch the thumbs against the center of the chest and lightly press the outer edges, the outer circle of the palms together and the finger pads together. Pause here for a moment. We're going to Om 3 times. And my suggestion is that you Om with a little more enthusiasm than usual so that the sound is louder, perhaps longer, with the intention of really letting the sound create a vibration inside the body. And the recognition is that vibration inside the body loosens up the blocks in that energy system or aids in that process and allows or facilitates the process of letting go. So, full breath in. Inhale. One more. Inhale. Pause for a moment and see if you can feel into the vibration of the sound continuing inside the torso. And then release the hands, bow the head over to the heart. And then release the hands. Lift your head, come onto your back. Have the blanket for your head close by, but you won't need it right away. And as you lie on your back, bend your knees, place your feet on the ground. Tuck the tops of the shoulders lightly underneath you. And then bring the heels of the hands to the tops of the thighs. Position your feet so that they're hip distance apart and take the heels out as wide as the baby toes. And if you're uncertain about that, be a little more pigeon-toed, so heels wider, toes in. Feel into the central column of the torso from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. And just like we did seated, allow that line to lengthen. That will happen for most of us pretty naturally here. And then with the heels of your hands against the tops of the thighs, just push the tops of the thighs away from you. And as you push the tops of the thigh bones toward the short edge of the mat in front of your toes, draw, without flattening the lower back, lift the front of the pelvis up toward the heart. And you just kind of intend that to happen, so that there's a releasing and a softening in the low belly. Keeping the small curve in the lower back and the tops of the thigh bones pushing away from you. Release the back of the rib cage down toward the ground. And soften the jaw completely. One more breath here. And then release the hands. And one at a time, extend the legs out straight for a moment. Flex the feet so that you're on the center of the back of the heels. And then draw the toes lightly back toward the torso so that you can push more clearly out through the balls of the feet. Now press the tops of the thigh bones straight down to the ground. So it's right where the heels of your hands were, right where your legs and your torso meet. Push down so that the backs of the thighs lay down against the ground. And that's entirely possible. You want contact with the backs of the legs and the ground. The curve in your lower back as you do that. But now bring the back of the rib cage to the floor. Take the arms straight out from the body so the fingertips stretch, reach up toward the ceiling. And turn the palms so that they face the feet. Now press the tops of the upper arm bones down toward the ground. And without lifting the ribs or the thighs or arching your lower back more, slowly take the arms overhead. The hands do not have to touch the ground, but they might. Press the backs of the thigh bones down toward the ground. Feel the weight even across the back of the pelvis and keeping the lower back hollowed up away from the ground. Descend the back of the rib cage. Soften the jaw. Bring the arms back up overhead. If it's possible for you to hook your thumbs, hook your thumbs. So if your hands did not touch the ground, especially hook your thumbs. Slightly bend the elbows. Again, press the tops of the thigh bones down, the back of the pelvis down, the back of the rib cage down, and now slowly again take the arms overhead. Squeeze the upper arms in toward the sides of the face, and turn the triceps around. Reach the fingertips away from you without lifting the backs of the thighs or the back of the ribs. Come back up. Last time, change the hook of the thumbs. Pressing the thigh bones down, extend the heels out away from you. And then slowly release the arms overhead. Stretch out completely so that the distance from the heels to the fingertips is maximized. At the same time, press the backs of the thigh bones down and feel the hollowing in the low belly. Press the back of the rib cage down without flattening the lumbar spine, the lower back, into the ground. Good job. Exhale. And then release, bring the arms up. Take the arms to the sides. Bend the knees, place the feet on the floor. Walk the heels in enough that you can really feel the center of the heels in contact with the ground. And then take the heels out. We're going to do a variation of bridge pose. Well, first we're going to do regular bridge pose. So grab the edges of your mat with your hands. Tuck the tops of the shoulders underneath you. Push down into your heels and keeping the knees pointing straight over the middle toes, lift your hips. Again, tuck the tops of the shoulders underneath you. Turn the upper arms out. Keeping the heels out. Squeeze the heels, like pull the heels toward each other without actually moving them on the mat. Lift the hips. Now press the knees away from you toward your toes. And curl the center of the heart toward the chin without flattening the back of the neck. Feel into the front of the torso and just easily, like without making this super effortful, expand and lengthen the front of the torso. Inhale here, exhale and come down. Cross your right ankle on your left thigh. Flex the right foot just a little bit and press the right knee away from you. And then feel the back of the pelvis even on the ground. Press the tops of the thigh bones away from you so that you have a little curve again in the lower back up away from the floor. Hold on to the edges of the mat. So now we're going to lift the hips up. Doesn't matter how high you lift. Matters that you lift the pelvis evenly. So keeping the jaw relaxed. Push into the heels. Inhale. Lift the hips up. Extend the right knee away from you and keep both sides of the pelvis level. Tuck the tops of the shoulders under. You're not necessarily going to lift that high. You're feeling into the stabilizing work in the left leg. So notice what's holding you, and then soften the belly and the jaw and the eyes. Exhale, bring the hips down, uncross. Change sides, so cross the left ankle on the right thigh. Have the right heel out slightly. Balance the weight across the back of the pelvis. And now holding the edges of the mat with your hands, inhale, lift the hips up. Scoop the tops of the shoulders just a little bit underneath you. And as you lift the hips evenly so the front of the pelvis is staying parallel to the ceiling. Press the right knee and the left knee away from you. Notice what's holding you, and notice the side that is less invested in this process, more challenged by the stabilizing requests. And then exhale and come down, uncross. So now you can place the blanket behind your head. Extend the left leg straight on the ground and press the back of the left thigh down as we did earlier when we took the arms overhead. So now we'll do Supta Pangusthasana, the supine leg stretch. So really clearly press the back of the left thigh bone down and recognize that that's actually a releasing process. It's letting go of tension in the front of the hip. And then keeping the back of the thigh down, draw the right knee toward the chest. So under no circumstances do you let the back of the right thigh lift. You don't have to bring the right knee deeply in toward the chest. Instead, flex the right foot and push the leg a little bit away from you so that the thigh bone moves into the hands. And then extend the right leg straighter. Breathe. And again, as we have often done, if it works better for your body to bend and straighten the leg, that movement may bring more fluidity. It might let go of some of the tension and the gripping in the hamstring muscles on the back of the right leg. Keep pressing the thigh into the hands. One more breath. So now if you've been bending and straightening the leg, hold it straight. Push the heel toward the ceiling. And now keeping the leg straight and the back of the left thigh bone down, release your hands. Draw the leg in toward you a little bit more, a couple of times. Pulse in and out keeping the leg as straight as possible. One more breath. And then bend the right leg and change sides. So with the left leg bent, extend the right leg straight. Take a moment here to press the back of the thigh bone down, to hollow the lower back, but to bring the back ribs down in contact with the floor. So we're in exactly the same position as we were when we took the arms overhead. And we're going to maintain that. So feel into the release in the low belly and the length through the central column of the torso. And then draw the left knee in toward the chest. Catching the center of the back of the thigh with your hands. Flex the left foot, push the thigh away from you. Stretch the leg straight. And then as we did, bend and release. If your body is happier with the leg straight, you hold it straight. And focus on pressing the thigh bone into the hands. One more breath. So if you've been moving, hold the leg straight, push up through the inner edge of the foot, and at the same time press the left thigh into the hands. Maintain that action, release the hands. And keeping the leg as straight as possible, draw it in a little bit toward the chest, come back out. In a bit, come back out. Hold everything else steady, stable, so the low belly is soft, the back ribs are down. There's this feeling of extension along the central column of the torso. One more time. And then bend that leg. Pause with both knees bent for a moment. Now we're going to take the leg to the side. So stretch the left leg straight on the ground. Bend the right leg in. Flex the foot. Push the thigh into the hands as you stretch the leg straight. Hold that. Now holding the right leg with the right hand only. Press the left thigh bone down, the left hip down. Feel the left back ribs down on the ground. And now take the right leg straight out to the right. So the outside of the right foot is more or less parallel to the ground. So we're not necessarily going for the lift of the leg toward the shoulder, although if you can hold the foot, do that. More significantly, press the left thigh bone down. Soften the belly. And then lengthen the inside edge of the right leg from the inner groin to the inner heel. Making that leg, the inner edge of the leg, longer, and releasing the collected tension in the inner thighs is a really significant part of the energetic cleansing that the practice can provide. And it's a place, the groins, the hips are a place of deep tension. So soften there, let go there as much as you can on the inner edge of the leg. And then using your hand, inhale, bring it back up. Exhale, bend. Change sides, so bending the left leg, extend the right leg straight. Really significantly press the back of the right thigh down. Curve the lower back. Bend the left leg in. Catch the back of the thigh, flex the foot, stretch the leg straight. Keep the right hip heavy and bring the back of the right ribs to the ground. Then, holding the left leg with the left hand only, take the left leg straight out to the left. Flex the foot. Press the back of the left the back of the right thigh down. Keep the right hip heavy as the left hip. So it's less significant how far over you take the left leg. It's more important that you keep the right hip down. Soften the center of the belly and lengthen the inseam of the left leg from the inner groin to the inner heel. Keep the back right ribs down. One more breath. And then inhale, come back up. Exhale, bend that leg, release. Roll all the way over to your right side. And come all the way up to stand. So you can face the short edge of the mat. I'll face the camera. So we'll do just a couple of shoulder openers. So with the feet together so that the inner edges of the feet touch. Inhale, stretch your right arm up alongside your right ear. Grab your right upper arm with your left hand. Rotate the arm so the outside of the arm turns toward you. Lift the arm up and then bend the elbow. Keep turning the arm in toward the sides of the face and press the upper arm bone back behind you. As you press the upper arm bone back behind you, press the tops of the thigh bones back. Descend the buttocks so that there's a slight softening of the low belly and it moves back toward the spine. Move the front ribs away from your shirt and feel like the back ribs are against the floor, like when you were lying down, and then take the upper arm bone back behind the ear. So you're not arching the lower back and throwing the front ribs forward to take the upper arm back behind your head more. And then exhale, release the left arm, stretch the right arm straight, and bring it down. Second side, take the other arm up. Grab the left upper arm with the right hand, rotate it in, bend. And as you bend the arm, move it back. As you move it back, be vigilant that you're not adjusting the rest of the body to give the illusion that the upper arm is moving back. So keep pressing the backs of the thigh bones toward the wall behind you. Descend the buttocks toward the heels and move the front ribs back away from your shirt. Feel the length in the torso from the center of the pelvis to the crown of the head. And you might even feel that right into the center of the arches of the feet. There's length from the center of the arches of the feet to the crown of the head, and even beyond the crown of the head. Exhale, release that arm. One more. Hook your thumbs just over your head. Descend the shoulder blades and move the elbows back toward the wall behind you. Press the heels, the center of the heels, and the base of the big toes into the ground. Push the tops of the thigh bones back toward the wall behind you, so it feels like the weight shifts a little more into the heels. Descend the buttocks, move the front ribs away from your shirt, and now without changing that, stretch the crown of the head into the hands, and slowly begin to stretch the arms straight. As you straighten the arms, rotate the triceps toward the sides of the face, just like you did in the previous position. And as you stretch the arms up, lift the entire rib cage away from the pelvis. So as the buttocks descend, the back ribs lift. As the low belly sits slightly back toward the spine, the front ribs lift. Inhale here, release the thumbs, exhale, sweep the arms down, and change the hook of the thumbs. Move the elbows back. Descend the shoulder blades. Move the tops of the thigh bones back especially on the leg that didn't like to do that so much. Descend the buttocks, move the front ribs back. Then slowly begin to stretch the arms straight, wrapping the triceps toward the sides of the face. And then lift up. So it's just like we did lying down. Feel the tops of the thigh bones moving back as if you were lying on the ground and they were pressing the floor. Move the front ribs back so you feel the back ribs against the imaginary floor. Keep a curve in the lower back. Lift up. One more breath. And then exhale. Take the arms down. Face the short edge of the mat. Separate the feet, hip bone distance apart. Inhale here, standing forward bend. As you exhale, fold all the way down over the legs. Bend the knees a little bit so that the fingertips touch the ground. And as you bend the knees a little bit, turn the inside edges of the legs more toward the wall behind you. Press the tops of the thigh bones back toward the wall behind you and stretch the legs a little straighter. Peel the low belly back away from the tops of the legs and extend the crown of the head toward the ground. Bend the knees, place the fingertips beside the heels, and now step the left foot back into a straight leg lunge. Right knee over right heel. With the right knee over the right heel, draw the right sitting bone in so that it lines up with the right heel. Lengthen the sides of the torso, especially from your right outer hip to your right armpit. Push off with your back foot, step forward, exhale. And then the other side, so step the right foot back, straight leg lunge. Left knee over left heel. Line your left sitting bone with your left heel. Lengthen the left side of the torso. One more breath. And from here, downward facing dog. Place the hands flat. Step the front foot back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. Look at your hands. Have them shoulder distance apart or a little wider. And turn the hands slightly out, side to side. Then press the pads of the fingers down. Press the entire outer circle of the palms down, but especially at the base of the first fingers. Rotate the triceps toward the head. And then pull the hips back. As you pull the hips away from the wrist, press the tops of the thighs toward the wall behind you. And as the tops of the thigh bones push back, feel the low belly sit back toward the spine and curl the center of the heart slightly toward the thumbs, even as you pull the hips back away from the wrists. One more breath here. Exhale, drop your knees to the ground, dolphin pose. Come down onto your elbows. Place your elbows shoulder distance apart and interlace the fingers. Tuck the bottom baby finger under. And now squeeze the elbows in toward each other. Draw the shoulder blades away from the ears. Tuck the toes. And without letting the elbows spread apart, lift the hips up. Stretch the legs straight. Lift the hips as high up away from the elbows as possible and push the tops of the legs toward the wall behind you. Turn the triceps toward the head, so it's the same action that we did in the previous shoulder movements. And now walk the feet in toward the elbows some amount. Lift the hips up really high and press your chest toward your knees. Walk back out if you walked in.
Lightly touch the knees to the ground at the same time. Take a breath. Change the interlacing of the fingers. Tuck the bottom baby finger under. Squeeze the elbows in toward each other. Adjust if they've moved. So if your elbows when you came down widened apart, then focus more on squeezing the elbows together. Tucking the toes under, lift the hips way up, release the head. Lift the hips up as high as possible. So high that you feel the low belly sit back toward the spine. And then maybe walk the feet in, press your chest toward your legs. So your heels are lifted here. So as you lift the heels, lift the hips. Press the chest toward the knees, maybe walk in again. And then step back out. Exhale, drop your knees to the ground. And lie all the way down on your left side. So as you roll onto your left side, Anantasana, the side stabilizing position. Stack your legs and tuck the bottom pinky toe side of your left foot really underneath you. And bring your ankles in line with your hip, in line with your armpit, and lengthen the left hand out away from you. So you can either stay here resting your head down, or if your neck allows, prop yourself up so that your left hand is supporting the head. Now, press the tops of the thigh bones back toward the wall behind you and firm the muscles of the buttocks. With your right hand in front of you, bend your right knee. Turn the right knee up. So you can catch the back of the thigh, or you could reach inside the knee and hold the outside edge of the foot or the big toe. This often gives a bit more stability. However, it means that you need to have more capacity to stretch the legs straight. So wherever you are, flex the foot. Slowly stretch the legs straight. Now keep the hips stacked. So instead of letting the right hip roll back, press it forward. And then take the right foot back. Hold wherever is available for you. And breathe. One more breath. So it's actually very similar to the bridge pose that we did earlier, the stability, the place of stability. And then exhale and release. So you'll just roll to the second side. I'll turn around so that it's better positioning for the camera. So lying on your right side now, tuck the baby toe side of your right foot underneath you. Line yourself up so that your hips are right over the ankles. The right armpit is in line with the right hip. And take whatever position with the head and the arm that you did on the first side. So here, I lift the heel of the right foot up a little bit. So I'm really on the outside edge of the foot, just below the baby toe, the outer ball of the foot. Then press the tops of the thigh bones back. Firm the muscles of the buttocks. Bend the left knee. Lift the left knee up. Hold as you did on the first side. Keep pushing the hips forward. And then stretch. Stretch the legs straight. So this is a balancing position and a stabilizing position. And it's useful to help imbalances in the pelvis. So as you press the right leg straight and firm the buttocks, keep your left hip stacked over your right as best you can. Take the left leg back toward the wall behind you, even as the hip pushes forward. One more breath. onto your stomach. Place your hands under your shoulders. Press back and up into downward facing dog. Look at the hands. Place the hands shoulder distance apart, turn them slightly out. Rotate the triceps toward the sides of the face and push into the knuckles at the base of your first fingers. Now pull the hips back and find the same muscles that you used to stabilize yourself in the previous pose to draw the hips back. Push the tops of the thigh bones toward the wall behind you. Hollow back the low belly slightly, that happens pretty naturally. And reach the center of the heart toward the thumbs. Look forward. Inhale, walk your feet up to your hands. And then fold over the legs, standing forward bend. And take the heels as wide as the baby toes. Push the heels. Press the tops of the thigh bones back to stretch the legs straighter. Hollow the low belly off the tops of the legs. Release the head. Bring the hands to the hips, lift the chin. Inhale, come up. Exhale. Turn to face the long edge of the mat. And step the feet really wide apart. Place the feet so that the outside edges of the feet are parallel. Standing spread leg forward bend. So put the hands on the hips. Inhale. And as you exhale, hinge from the tops of the legs. Place the fingertips on the ground under the shoulders, bending your knees as you need to make that happen. Then with the heels out as wide as the baby toes, turn the inside edge of the thighs toward the wall behind you. Hollow up the low belly and just slightly turn the sitting bones down toward the heels. Now as you press the legs straighter, push the tops of the bones back toward the wall behind you and lift the front of the pelvis forward. So you want to feel like there's a sense of separation between the tops of the thighs and the bottom of the torso. Then, keeping the hips right over the heels, walk the hands forward. Firm the thigh muscles. Press the tops of the thigh bones back without actually moving the hips back past the heels. Lift the whole front side of the torso away from the legs and forward toward your fingertips as you walk the hands further out away from you. Curl the center of the heart toward the thumbs, even as the low belly sits back toward the pelvis. Release the head. Feel the length from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head and beyond. And use the work in the legs, the strong work in the legs, to support the length on the inner core line of the torso. Walk the hands back under the shoulders. Heel toe the feet in 1 or 2 steps. Bend the knees a little bit. Put the hands on the hips, lift the chin. Inhale, come up. Exhale, feet together. Triangle pose. Inhale, step the feet really wide apart. Turn the left foot in, the right leg and foot out. So for a moment, focus on your left leg and push the back of the left thigh bone toward the wall behind you. It's just like when we were lying down and you were pressing the thighs into the ground. Firm your front thigh and hug your front hip underneath you. And that's like the leg that was in the air on the lying down side position. Then lengthen the arms out to the sides. And now keeping the top of the left thigh bone back and the right hip hugging underneath you, lengthen the torso out over the right leg. Move the torso back so you're on the back side of the right thigh and bring your hand to your shin or your ankle. Stretch the other arm up. Breathe. Soften the jaw. And as you soften the jaw, press the top of the left thigh bone back. Hug your right hip underneath you. And now there's a curve in the lower back here. That's appropriate. Move the front ribs away from your shirt. Descend the shoulder blades. And find length from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head, along the center core line of the torso. Push into your heels. Inhale, come up. Exhale, release the arms. And then turn the feet. Turn the left foot slightly in, right foot slightly in. Turn the left leg and foot out. As you press the top of the right thigh bone back, bring the weight back into the heel of the right foot. Firm your left thigh and hug your left hip underneath you. Then take the arms to the sides. As you stretch out now over the left leg, hug your left hip underneath you, but keep the right thigh bone pushing back. Move your torso toward the back of the left leg and take the left hand down, right arm up. Breathe. Feel the work in the legs. Support the softening, especially in the torso, so that the length from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head is supported by the muscles of the legs, the intrinsic muscles, the core, deeper layer of muscle of the torso. And as a consequence of the strong work in the legs and the support in the inner torso, the face can be soft, and there's a sense of letting go of all that we've been holding and clinging onto. Push into the heels, inhale, come up. Exhale, turn the feet, lower the arms. Inhale, step the feet together. Extended side angle. Inhale, step the feet really wide apart. Turn the left foot slightly in. Rotate the right leg and foot out. Same thing. Push very strongly the top of the left thigh bone back and take the weight back into your left heel. Firm your right thigh, hug your right hip underneath you. Take the arms to the sides. Bend your front knee deeply and track it over the middle toes of your front foot. And at the same time, push the thigh bone back on the left leg. Drop your right forearm to your thigh. Put your left hand on your hip. Pause here for a moment. So now, as you continue to point the front knee toward the third toe of your front foot, press the top of the left thigh bone back, but now also lift the inside edge of the left leg up. So you have a full arch in your left foot, and the weight is across the outer edge of the foot and the heel. From there, lift the center of the heart up. Keep hugging your right buttocks underneath you. Lean the torso back. Move the front ribs away from your shirt, and then stretch the left arm up. Either stay here or slide the right hand down to touch the ground inside the right foot. Even though here the right hand might be touching the ground, the work to support the body is really in the legs. Now push into your heels, inhale, come up. Exhale, turn the feet, lower the arms. And then the second side. Turn the right foot in, rotate the left leg and foot out. Take the arms to the sides. Push very strongly the top of the right thigh bone back so you feel the weight sink into your right heel. And maintaining that, bend the front knee, aim it over the middle toes. Hug your left hip underneath you. Drop your left forearm to your thigh. Put your right hand on your hip. Lift the inner edge of the back leg, the inner thigh of the back leg, away from the ground and into the bone of the leg so that you can really cement the outer edge of the foot to the ground. Keep the thigh bone back so that the weight's in the heel. And now lengthen the inside edge of the front leg. Descend the shoulder blades. Turn the chest slightly to the right. Stretch the right arm up. Stay here, or perhaps slide the hand down toward the ground. Lengthen from the base of the pelvis along this core line of the torso to the crown of the head and beyond. And around that, soften as best you can. Push into your heels. Inhale, come up. Exhale, turn the feet. Lower the arms. Inhale, feet together. Utkatasana, chair pose or powerful pose. So inner edges of the feet touch. So with the inner edges of the feet touching, take a moment and press the tops of the thigh bones back so that the weight comes more into the heels. And then draw the buttocks down toward the heels so that the low belly sits back. There's a sense for me that I'm almost gonna fall backwards when I push the thigh bones back. And then the buttocks descending are what holds me present in place with the weight on the heels. Now move the front ribs back away from your shirt. Take your arms to your sides. Inhale, take the arms up. So today, there's different ways always to do poses. So today I want you to go straight down so the torso doesn't come so far forward. So bend the ankles and the knees and sit straight down so that the sitting bones stay back over the heels. Keeping the sitting bones over the heels and the weight in the heels. Move the front ribs away from your shirt. And then lengthen the torso. So you pick the whole rib cage out of the pelvis. And as a consequence, the low belly sits back because of the extension through the body. Lengthen up through the arms. Reach the fingertips away from you. And then pushing into the heels, inhale, come up. Exhale. Take the blanket roll and and roll it or fold it up so that you have a support for your heel and put it on the edge of the mat that's usually at the back. So we've done this before. We're going to do warrior one, sort of in a lunge variation with the heel supported. So put the left heel up on the support so that the ball of the foot is on the ground. And then take a big step forward with your right foot. Put your hands on your hips. So with the heel lifted, sometimes we have a little bit more capacity to work the back leg. So now really strongly push the top of the left thigh bone toward the wall behind you and push down into your left heel. With your hands on your hips, keep the left hip forward as you press the top of the left thigh bone back. And now move the torso, the front of the torso, away from your shirt as best you can. And then exhale, deeply bend your front knee. As you bend the front knee, lean forward a little bit. You can even put your hands on your front knee and really strongly push the top of the left thigh bone back. Plant your right heel. And now pull your right sitting bone forward toward the back of your right knee to bring the torso more upright. As you bring the torso more upright, feel into a straight line from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head that you're creating without bending your left knee. You can either stay here, or if you like, you can stretch the arms overhead. As you stretch the arms overhead, keep the front of the rib cage moving back. And find the straight line through the center of the torso. Stretch out through the fingertips as an extension of that line. And then pushing into the front heel, stretch the front leg straight. Step the back foot forward to release. And then change sides, so walk back. And put your right heel up on the support. So your right toes are pointing forward. And then step the left foot forward really well. So with the outside edge of the right hip forward, I lean forward a little bit and that gives me more capacity to press the top of the right thigh bone back. At the same time, I press down into the right heel. And then exhale, keep that, the right leg pressing back. And bend the left knee, pointing the left knee straight forward. Lean forward. You can put your hands on your front knee. And then really strongly push the top of the right thigh bone back. Find your left sitting bone, and using your left butt, extend your left sitting bone forward toward the back of the left knee while you make your right leg strong and straight. And then keeping this work in the legs, bring the torso more upright. If we're working the legs well, it actually helps release the muscles on the tops of the shoulders, and the jaw and the face can stay soft. So keep that in mind as a place to move toward. And then with the torso more upright and the front ribs away from your shirt, inhale, take the arms up. Breathe. Breathe into the center line of the torso and lengthen from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. Extend up through the fingertips without lifting the front of the rib cage more than the back. Stretch the front leg straight, lower the arms, and push off with the back foot to come forward. You can now come back to the first side. So, left foot on the roll. Step the right foot forward, maybe not quite so far this time. Put your hands on your hips. With the hands on the hips, we're going to do a variation of revolved triangle. So firm your front thigh. Have your front knee slightly bent. Push the top of the left thigh bone back, and this time keeping your right leg straight and your pelvis facing forward. Fold halfway over your front leg. So you can put your hands on your shin, just below the knee, or some of you might come over to the ankle, and some of you might touch the fingertips to the ground on either side of the front foot. Wherever you are, you want length in the front of the torso. So choose a position that makes sense for you. Have a slight bend in the front knee so that you have to work the hips more to create the pose. Now, keeping your left hand wherever it is, put your right hand on your hip. Pressing the top of the left thigh bone back, lengthen the crown of the head away from the pelvis, and then rotate the torso to the right. Use your legs well. Roll your right shoulder back. Extend the crown of the head away from the pelvis, and possibly here, stretch the right arm up. If you stretched your right arm up, put it down. Bring your left hand to your hip, use your legs, come up, step the back foot forward. And then change sides. So take the right heel up on the roll, step the left foot forward, maybe not quite as far as in the warrior one positioning. Put your hands on your hips. Keeping the hips facing the short edge of the mat, really strongly push the top of the right thigh bone back toward the wall behind you, and plant your right heel against the blanket. Then hinge forward, and as you hinge forward, send the hips back. Make the back leg straight and strong. At the same time, firm your front thigh, micro-bend your front knee, and bring your hands either to your shin, your ankle, or the fingertips to the floor. Wherever you are, lengthen the front of the torso. Good. Pressing the back heel into the roll, and the top of that thigh bone toward the wall behind you. Lengthen the torso. Keep your right hand where it is, put your left hand on your hip. Slowly twist the torso to the left. from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. And as you lengthen, twist. If you did it on the first side, when you've twisted fully, perhaps stretch your left arm straight up. Bring your left hand to your hip. Look down. Put your right hand on your hip. Use your legs, come up, and step the back foot forward. Now you can move the blanket roll to the side. Face the short edge of the mat. Separate the feet hip bone distance apart. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, standing forward, bend. Fold over the legs. Turn the inner knees back toward the wall behind you. And bending your knees a little bit is helpful for that. Push the heels apart. Same kind of instruction. And as you push the heels apart and turn the inside edge of the knees slightly back toward the wall behind you, make sure that the knees are staying over the feet so the knees aren't knocking in toward each other as you do that. Hollow the low belly off the tops of the legs. And now as you stretch the legs straight, the legs stay vertical. And at the same time, press the tops of the thigh bones back, away from you. And keep the low belly peeling away from the tops of the thighs. Extend the torso completely. Reach the crown of the head down toward the ground. Keeping the legs strong, let go of any holding on in the torso. So the tops of the shoulders, the jaw, and the eyes, all relax. Or more appropriately, release tension. So that the practice is this cleansing of our tendencies to accumulate tension that becomes blocks in the physical body and in the energetic system. Bend the knees, place the hands flat. Step one foot and then the other all the way back, downward facing dog. Step the feet right together so that the inner edges of the big toes touch. Slide the feet a little further away from you as needed, plank pose. Bring the shoulders right over the wrists. Keeping the hips as high as the back of the heart, tilt the buttocks toward the heels. So lift the tops of the thigh bones away from the floor. Keep the buttocks descending toward the heel and peel back the low belly. And then slightly bending the elbows, draw the shoulder blades away from the ears and push the heels and the crown of the head away from each other. Feeling again the length in the intrinsic line of the torso from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. Exhale, drop your knees to the ground, lie all the way down on your stomach. Pause for a moment here. So bring your left forearm under your forehead. We'll do the supine thigh stretch. Stretch the legs straight back behind you. Be on the center of the thighs. Bend the right knee. Now scoop up the low belly, firm the muscles of the buttocks, and draw the right heel as close to your hip without using your hand or anything else as possible. And then perhaps lift the head to reach back and catch the right ankle, foot, or even your pants or shorts. And then you can put the head back down. If you know that lifting the head and keeping it up is appropriate for you, feel free. Now press the top of the knee down, or the base of the thigh, more accurately, down toward the ground on the right leg. so that there's just a tiny sense of a hollow at the right groin where the torso and the thigh meet. Then, keeping that, draw the right heel toward the right buttocks. Lift up the low belly and firm the muscles of the buttocks to keep the sensations away from the lower back. And as you continue to press the base of the right thigh down, draw your right heel in. One more breath. And then very gently release. And support the head with the other forearm. So the front of the thighs, the front of the hip area is a place where we can accumulate a lot of tension. It's a place where physically we hold often. It's like our attic or our basement. So depending on how congested that area feels, you want to, go slowly, but this is something to do on a regular basis, especially when we sit a lot. It's really good. So now bend the left leg. Lift up the low belly, firm the buttocks. Draw the left heel as close to your left buttocks as possible without using your hand. And then lifting the head as needed, reach back, catch your pants, your ankle, your shin, or something. Probably put the head back down. Now as you press the base of the thigh toward the ground, there's a little lift right where your thigh, your left thigh, and your torso meet. Watch that doesn't roll you to your right hip. So keeping both sides of the pelvis down, but that little hollow right where your leg and your torso meet. Draw your heel toward your buttocks. Breathe. Deliberately invite the positioning of the body in the pose to release accumulated tension, so that there's no grasping or holding. No grasping toward something that's not yet attainable or appropriate, and not holding on to anything that is stored in the body here. And then releasing that leg. Put the foot down. Press yourself up. And just turn over for a moment. And for a moment, just sit and stretch the legs out. And press the tops of the thigh bones down. So the next position is Baddha Konasana. So you may want to sit on a folded blanket or your pillow. And another option will be just to not have the heels as close to you. So Baddha Konasana is butterfly or cobbler position. So here, stretch the legs out straight. And then bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet together, opening the knees to the side. So, an option, if your knees are high and this feels really uncomfortable, just move the feet a little further out away from you. And then turn your thighs in with your hands. If available, bring the heels closer to you. And if you're on support and your knees are low, come off of the support. Press the center of the heels together. Did we already? Turn your thighs in with your hands and hold your ankles or your shins. Press the tops of the thigh bones down and lift the low belly slightly back. And really you're doing that because you're creating length from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. So just to add a little more, or to invite a little more freedom here, this is also a place where we hold a lot of tension in the inner thighs. We're going to come forward some amount and come back up, but we're doing that with the back flat and this length through the central column of the torso. So descend the shoulder blades, keep the chest lifted, and then hinge forward from the tops of the legs a little bit, come back up. So depending on your body, you might hinge forward a bit more, come back up. Doesn't matter how far forward you go. Hinge, come back up. Keep the low belly slightly back. And lengthen from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. Couple more breaths. Couple more times. So now, when you've come over, pause at whatever position you're at, and pause here. Push the heels together. Lengthen from the inner groins to the inner knees. With the buttocks heavy, feel into the central column of the torso and lengthen from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. Soften the jaw. And as best you can, soften the areas of sensation, so that we're using the pose, instead of adding layers of tension, we're asking the pose to release it. So as best you can, work at a place where the breath can move fluidly, and your experience over time in the position is one of less and less and less sensation. And then inhale and come up. Take the outsides of the knees with your hands, join your knees together. Stretch the legs out straight. Come onto your back, so you can use the blanket here folded in half for your head. So we're going to work the squat malasana, but from this position, so we're not weight bearing so much on the knees for people for whom that is more challenging. And so on your back, feel the back of the pelvis on the ground, feel the back of the rib cage on the ground, and feel a little hollow of the lower back up away from the floor. Now keep all of that. Draw your knees toward your chest. Bring the base of the big toes together to touch, and widen the knees just to the size of the torso. Take your arms one at a time through the knees, so your arms on the insides of the knees hold the outside edges of the feet. So keep the back of the pelvis weighted. Here your lower back might touch the ground, but it's not weight bearing, and feel the back of the rib cage touch the ground. Squeeze the knees in so that they're not opening as wide as in the previous position, Baddha Konasana, but they're really coming more in line with the outsides of the shoulders. Draw the pinky toe sides of the feet toward the outsides of the knees. And now descend the heels toward the sitting bones. One more breath. And exhale, release. Place the feet on the ground. Cross the right ankle all the way over the left, Gomukhasana, supine. Feel the weight even across the back of the pelvis. Lift the knees in. Catch the knees so you can hold the right knee or the left knee. Again, the lower back here might touch the ground, but you feel the weight across the back of the pelvis. So either keep your hands on your knees or slide down to hold the outside of your ankles or the outer edges of the feet. Draw the feet away from each other, so the right foot to the left and the left foot moves to the right. Soften the jaw and the eyes. And as much as possible, let the position invite the releasing of the accumulated tension in the outside of the right hip. And then letting go of the legs with your hands, put your left foot on the ground, uncross the right. And then change sides across the left leg over the right, so your knees are stacked. Lift the knees up, hold the knees, even the weight across the back of the pelvis. Take the heels out, the feet out, away from each other. Maybe reach around, catch the outside of the shins, or the ankles, or the outer edges of the feet. Couple of breaths. One more breath here. And then release the hands, uncross the legs, keep the knees bent for a moment. Put your hands on your torso. Actually, for a moment, put your hands on the tops of the thighs. And just like we did at the very beginning of the practice, press the tops of the thigh bones away from you. Lift the front of the pelvis slightly toward the head. Feel the low belly sit back. And then releasing that, place your hands on your belly, close your eyes. And take a couple of slightly longer breaths in and out here. So first just tune into the rhythm of the inhale. Count it off. And then count off the length of the exhale. And find a number that is slightly longer than that, so add 1 or 2 counts. And then inhale, counting that length of breath. And then slightly longer exhale. Do this a couple more times and see if there's a sense, and there may not be, and there may be, but investigate how much of the body you feel respond to the breath in and the breath out. And see if there's any sense that the unclogging that the practice can facilitate physically and energetically makes the body, physical and energetic body, more available to receive the breath in and to release the breath out. after your next exhalation. Simply stretch the legs out straight. Take the arms to the sides with the arms turned so that the palms are up, or leave the arms bent and the palms down on the torso. Close your eyes and settle into Shavasana. In this final relaxation position, which is the pinnacle pose of every practice, let go completely. Like any holding on in the physical body. And as the physical body releases deeply into the earth, feel every cell of the body relax. So over the next couple of rounds of breath, completely let go. Even dissolve the sense of the physical body. And as the physical body dissolves into the earth underneath and the air around, become aware of the breath. And as you let go of any need to control the breath, watch the breath move completely through you. So that every part of you responds to the inhale and the exhale. And invite a sense that you are free of any of the accumulated tensions in the physical body, the accumulated blocks in the energy body, and that sensation, emotion, thought can move unencumbered through you. And feel into the ease of being invited by the complete openness and the full cleansed body, mind that can receive, and to let go of all that comes.
Slowly deepen your breath. With the next deeper breath in, bend the knees, place the feet on the ground. And then supporting the head with the right arm as needed, roll to your right side and pause on your right side. And then pressing down with your right hand, bring yourself all the way up to sit. Sitting well, close your eyes. Join your hands back together in front of your heart. May our practice release us from the holding on and the clinging that is natural to our hands. May we leave the practice cleansed, open, and able to meet experience, sensation, emotion, and thought without grasping or clinging to any experience. We'll close the practice with one Om. Take a breath in. Om.